Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Our subject is Advanced Research Methodology, and I'm going to start this subject for MSBA class, Masters of Science in Business Administration. First of all, we will discuss and we will define what research is. I'm sharing the slides, and you can see on your screen first chapter, that is Introduction to Research. What is research? So first of all, we have to define what is research. Research, a somewhat intimidating term for some, is simply the process of finding solutions to a problem after a thorough study and analysis of the situational factors. Research is a term that we come across in our daily lives. Many a times we hear this term on television, we hear this term on internet, on social media. So research is basically exploring things, is basically creating new things. Without research, it would not have been possible to invent new drugs, to invent cell phones, to improve technology, and nothing could have been possible without research. So we could define research as it is the process of finding solutions to a problem after a thorough study and analysis of the situation factors. So usually we have a problem, and then we try to find a solution for this problem. And if we do this in a systematic way, that's called research. Now, because we are business students, and we are learning research in the context of business studies, so it is important for us to define business research. So what is business research? Business research can be described as a systematic and organized effort to investigate a specific problem encountered in the work setting which needs a solution. So in business research, we have to focus on problems that are encountered in organizations in the context of business, or in the context of business organizations. So these problems might range from production problems to HR problems to lower morale of the employees to high turnover of the employees to production slowdowns and to marketing problems, and there are so many things. Another definition of business research could be as follows. Business research can be defined as an organized, systematic, database, critical, objective scientific inquiry or investigation into a specific problem undertaken with the purpose of finding answer or a solution to it. So this definition is more elaborated as compared to the previous one, but basically it tells us the same things. So if we decompose this definition, we come across different elements. Like a research is an organized thing. So we have already defined research that it is uh, done by using thorough data analysis. So research is an organized activity. Number two, it is a systematic activity. Number three, it is data based. So whenever we are talking about research, we are talking about data. Because without data, we are not doing research, then we are just putting forward some solutions that are more intuition based or sixth sense based, but not data based. Then it is critical. Then it is objective. Again, objective means data based. It's objective, not subjective. Scientific inquiry or investigation into a specific problem undertaken with the purpose of finding answer or solutions to it. As we have already discussed in the definition of research, that it is done usually in response to a problem in order to find solutions. Uh, in a sense, research provides the necessary information that guides managers to make informed decisions to successfully deal with the problems. Now, the second point is very important. Why business research is needed? Because it provides the managers with the data that they need to make informed decisions. It's very important for managers to make decisions in their everyday life. If you have a business background, you must have business background. Students in MSBA, they come from business background. Then In principles of management and in organizational behavior, there is a great deal of emphasis over individual decision making because managers have to engage in decision making in their everyday lives. So it is very important for managers to have correct data available, to have findings of the research available to make informed decisions. Because if managers do make uninformed decisions, that could cost organizations billions of dollars. Next is again a very important segregation, that is segregation of business research into applied and basic. So we can basically divide business research into two categories: applied research and basic research. So applied research is the one that we have just defined. For example, a particular product may not be selling well, and the manager might want to find the reasons for this in order to take a corrective action. Another example could be uh, like there is a problem in marketing, or there is a problem with the morale of the employees, there is a problem with job satisfaction of the employees, a large number of employees are leaving the organization. So these are all the problems which are being faced by management of the organization, and these are existing problems and they need a solution. So the research that would be undertaken to deal with these problems and to find solutions of these problems could be termed as applied research, because applied research is conducted in response to an existing problem, right? The second type of business research is basic research. Now basic research is not done in response to a current problem, but it is done for the sake of knowledge creation. So this is the research that is done for the sake of research. The third point on this slide, the other is to generate a body of knowledge by trying to comprehend how certain problems that occur in organization can be solved. This is called basic research. So basically, the purpose of basic research is to generate a body of knowledge, is to create new knowledge that could be then used to solve current real life problems. So essentially, basic research would add to applied research at some point in time. So I will ask the students to read these slides. They give an example of basic research that could be later used for applied research. So I will ask students to read these slides and read this example. There is an applied research example, so I will ask students to read this example. And if there is any question, then let me know. Now there is an example of a basic or fundamental research. So again, I will ask students to read these examples, and if there is any problem, then let me know. Next is chapter 2. Chapter 2 is about scientific investigation. Okay, in chapter 2, we have to learn the hallmarks of scientific research. Uh, this is pretty much only topic that covers chapter 2, and this is hallmarks of scientific research. Hallmarks mean important characteristics uh, or important fundamental points that mark the scientific research. So there are eight eight of them: purposiveness, rigor, testability, replicability, precision and confidence, objectivity, generalizability, and parsimony. So we will discuss all of them one by one. First of all is purposiveness. As the word indicates, purposiveness is derived from the word purpose, and purpose means a goal, an objective. So purposiveness means that research must be purpose built. It must be based on a specific purpose. It must be designed to obtain specific goals, to obtain specific objectives. Purposiveness. The manager has, this is an example. For example, a manager has started the research with the a definite aim or purpose. The focus is on increasing the commitment of employees to the organization, as this will be beneficial in many ways. So in this example, we can see that the manager who is doing research on uh, who is doing some work on increasing organizational commitment of the employees. So this research has a specific purpose, that is to find solutions to increase organizational commitment of the employees. Uh, Now, why this manager wants to increase organizational commitment of the employees? Because basic research has shown that employees who are more committed to the organizations, uh, they are high performers, they are better satisfied with their jobs, and they are not prone to leave the organization. So organization high organizational commitment would eventually lead to a number of positive job outcomes. So that's why this manager wants to build organizational commitment of the employees, and the focus of this manager's research would be how he or she could improve organizational commitment of the employees. Now in this example we can see that this research has a specific purpose in itself. So it is safe to say that a research without an explicit and specific purpose is not a good research. In fact, like you are MS students, and uh, after 1 year or after 2 semesters, you will start working on your dissertation, on your thesis. And whenever you will present your synopsis or your ideas of research, the first question that would be asked to you by your supervisory committee or by the examination committee would be, what is the specific purpose or what are the objectives of your research? This is the first question that would be asked to you. And you also have to include uh, a section in your introduction, a subsection in your introduction chapter of your thesis that would be labeled as objectives or research objectives. So in that section, you have to clearly mention what are the objectives of your research. So you can see that purposiveness is really very important element of research, and without purposiveness, we cannot proceed further. The second point is rigor. Now, what rigor means? Rigor means hardships. Rigor means to do something diligently and very carefully. Like in English, we say to leave no stone unturned. Rigor. A good theoretical base and a sound methodological design add rigor to a purposive study. Rigor connotes a carefulness and the degree of exactitude in research investigation. Lacks the rigor for the following reason. Just leave it for a minute. So I will ask the students to go to a dictionary app in your phones if you have one. Otherwise, just go to Google and write rigor meaning, and then let me know what does a dictionary tell us about the meaning of rigor. So the meaning of rigor is to do something very carefully with a lot of hard work, a lot of hardships, uh, and do it methodically, do it meticulously. So when we are talking about rigor in research, it means that research must be rigorous. It must be done with a lot of hard work. It must be done with a lot of care. It must be executed meticulously. And it is the responsibility of the researcher to address every avenue to leave no stone unturned. Uh, if research lacks a rigor, then this research could not produce fruitful conclusions, because the conclusions that are derived from a research that has not been done rigorously would be kind of a fruit of poisonous tree, because the research design and the execution of the research was not proper. So the conclusions of that kind of research could not be relied upon. So to come up with solid conclusions that could be relied upon, the research must be rigorous. And again, like after 2 semesters, you will be starting to work on your dissertation. You will see that your examiners, your supervisory committee members, they will make sure that if you have worked rigorously or not, and this would be evident from your write-up, from your methodology, from the design of your research. If you have not done your work with rigor, there would be many questions that would arise, and these questions would be asked from you. And if you cannot answer these questions, then it would show that your research is not rigorous enough, and that is a major point that can make a student like disqualified for award of degree. So there is an example of rigor, and I will ask the students to read the examples carefully. The third point, third hallmark of business research is testability. So testability means that the tenets, the hypotheses, the things that we are going to research on must be testable. Testable means that these things must be uh, could must be testable. These things must be designed in a way, or the research questions must be framed in a way that they could be tested. So in business research in specific and in research in general, we cannot come up with some research questions that could not be tested. For example, we could not try to answer the question like which lie in very far future or things like that. The researcher might hypothesize that those employees who perceive greater opportunities for participation in decision making will have a high level of commitment. This is a hypothesis that can be tested when the data are collected. Scientific research thus lends itself to logically developed hypotheses to see whether or not the data support the educated conjectures or hypotheses that are developed after a careful study of the problem situation. Fourth point is replicability. Replicability or replication means repetition. So any piece of research must be carefully crafted, and it must be carefully addressed and must be carefully communicated to the scientific community, so that if anyone wants to repeat the same research, he or she must be able to do that, and he or she must come up with the same results. If it's not the case, then the research that is original research that is presented by the original scientist, it is questionable. So it is very important for any research study that it must be replicable. It could be repeated, and if it is repeated, then the results should be same. Because if this is not the case, then there is a question on the original research that it might have been done on fake data or, or factually not correct. Uh, Our hypotheses have not been supported merely by chance, but are reflective of the true state of affairs in the population. It is not uncommon for researchers to ask each other for their data sets. For example, being a researcher, I sometimes receive emails. There are random people who are asking for the data that I have used for my research papers. So because they want to replicate the study. So in case if you are unable to provide the data, or if you provide your data for replication and someone tries to replicate your study and the results are different, then it means that your data, like you might have cooked the data or something like that. Next point is precision and confidence. Now these are very important concepts. First of all, we will take precision and then confidence. Precision refers to the closeness of the findings to reality based on the sample, and confidence is the degree of confidence, the degree of belief that we can put in our findings, the degree to which we are confident that our findings are correct. So these are two different concepts, and it is very important to differentiate between them. Let me give you an example. If I have a wall clock in my room, and it is 9 a.m. in the morning, and I look at my clock and it tells me 9 a.m. Uh, that is precision, right? That is precision. It's 9 a.m. I check the time on my cell phone. It's 9 a.m. I look at my clock. It's 9 a.m. That is the precision. I'm satisfied that I have a good clock, right? But what is next? I go for breakfast and I enter in the room again and I look at the clock and it is again showing 9 a.m. And I look at my cell phone and it's 9:30 a.m. So what's wrong with that? Everything's wrong, right? Because the clock is not working. Its batteries are dead. It's out of juice. So by chance, it stopped at 9. So when I looked at clock, it was showing 9 a.m. and by chance at that time it was 9 a.m. So I thought that it's working fine. But after 30 minutes, I saw it was again at 9 a.m. because it was not working at all. It was out of batteries. So it means that the reading that it gave me at 9 a.m. apparently this reading was precise, but actually it was not because I cannot put my confidence in that reading because this reading is not sustainable. Similarly, another example, if I have a weighing scale, if I weigh myself, if I want to check my body weight, and I stand on this machine, uh, on this weight scale, and it tells me that my weight is 90 kg. Uh, that is probably about right. Then I would say, okay, that's fine. Uh, and then again next day I stand on the same machine and it tells me 91 kg. That is again fine. Maybe I have put some heavy clothes on. Maybe I have had a heavy breakfast. Maybe I don't know. I'm wearing shoes or something like that. I have something in my pocket. That's fine. Next day I again stand on the machine and it shows me 89 kg. That is also probably fine. Maybe I haven't eaten much or maybe I'm wearing some light clothes. I have empty pockets or something like that. So it will not bother me, right? So this is the confidence because first of all, this machine is telling me uh, the weight. It's telling me the correct weight, and then over repetitive readings, it is giving me the same readings with very little fluctuation that could be because of any number of reasons. But imagine the same. I stand on a machine and it shows me 90 kg. That is probably right, and I'm all right, okay, that's fine. And next day I stand on the machine again and it shows me 95 kg. Now there is something wrong. It's not usually possible for someone to gain 5 kilograms of weight overnight. And then next day I stand on the machine again and it shows me 85 kg. That is also again that's not all right because someone cannot lose 5 kilogram of weight overnight. So these readings 85 kg and 95 kg, these are showing that there is some problem with the machine. So I will probably look for the machine. I will probably buy a new machine or I will get it fixed because it shows that it is not giving me correct readings when I'm repeating the experiment or when I'm repeating uh, the procedure. So this shows that I cannot put my confidence into this machine. So this is the difference between precision and confidence. A precision is showing correct results one time, and confidence is having correct results every time. So it is important to have both of these things. So if we are doing our research, then we must have findings which are precise and which are confidence based because if we repeat that experiment again and again, we must come up with similar findings. Next point is objectivity. As I have already explained that research must be objective, it must not be subjective. There are two terms, objective and subjective. So objectivity means data based and subjectivity means intuition based or not based on data. Rather subjective findings or rather subjective decisions, they are based on someone's experiences of life, someone's intuition, someone's wisdom, someone's sixth sense. But objective decisions or objective findings, they are based on data. They are based on hardcore data. The last point is, second last point is generalizability. So a good research is that could be generalized. So it is very important to generalize our research. When you will start working on your thesis, you will come across the terms generalizability and sample and population. So why we take a sample out of a population, and sampling is a very important technique, and you will see that in your research books there are whole chapters which are devoted to sampling, and there must be books whole books which are devoted to sampling. So why sampling is so important? Because sampling is a procedure of taking uh, a very small number of subjects out of a population, and these small number of subjects, they must be representative of the population, because the findings that we get out of our research on the base of this small tiny sample, we will generalize these findings to the whole population. So this sample must be very good representative of the population. So that's why it's very important for our research to be generalizable. Because if our research is not generalizable, then it is useless. Then it could not be used for by the practitioners for practice, for implementation. The last point is parsimony. Parsimony refers to simplicity. Simplicity in explaining the phenomena or problems that occur, and in generating solutions for the problems, is always preferred to complex research frameworks that consider an unmanageable number of factors. Uh, for instance, if two or three specific variables in the work situation are identified, which when changed would raise the organizational commitment of the employees by 45%, that would be more useful and valuable to the manager than if it were recommended that he should change 10 different variables to increase organizational commitment by 48%. So in this example, we can see that it is better to have a small number of factors as compared to a large number of factors, even if there is uh, a little compromise on the explanatory power of our model for the sake of parsimony, because uh, s- parsimonious or simple models are always preferred over more complex models. Okay, I forgot. In this chapter, we have another topic, that is hypothetical deductive method of research. The hypothetical deductive method of research is a stepwise approach to research uh, that shows us how to complete a research project from the scratch. So there are 7 steps in the research process. First is the identify a broad problem area. Second one is define the problem statement. Third one is develop hypothesis. Fourth one is determine measures. Fifth one is data collection. Sixth one is data analysis, and last one is interpretation of results. So first is the identifying a broad problem area. So first of all, we have to identify a broad problem area, the area in which our problem is lying that we are going to research for. A drop in a sale, frequent production interruptions, incorrect accounting results, low yielding investments, disinterestedness of employees in their work, customer switching, and the like would attract the attention of the manager and catalyze the research project. So these are all some examples of different problem areas. The second one is define the problem statement. Then we have to carefully craft and define the problem statement. What is the actual problem for which we are going to do our research? The third is develop hypothesis. We will come to hypothesis in detail uh, when we when we are on our chapter of hypothesis. But for the sake of this chapter, a hypothesis could be defined as these are tentative statements which lend themselves to be tested through some data. So in this step, we have to define our variables, and we have to define and establish the linkage or the relationship between the variables that would be tested in further steps by data. So the fourth uh, step is determine measures. So after developing our hypothesis, we have to determine the measures that would be used to measure different variables. So in business research, if we are doing a research in marketing or organization behavior, it would essentially mean that we have to come up with the scales or with the questionnaires that would be used to measure the variables that we are going to do research on. The fifth step is data collection. After defining the measures, we have to collect the data on those measures. This data could be in the form of questionnaires, it could be in the form of interviews, it could be in in any form. And number six, we have to analyze the data. That is again very wide topic. How to analyze the data? There are a number of ways to analyze the data. And then last is the interpretation of the results. So this is very important because being a researcher, when we analyze the data, then we come up with some numbers like if we have run a, a regression analysis, then we will come up with a beta value. Now this beta, if we communicate this beta value to the owner of the organization for which we are doing research, then it will not tell this owner anything. So we have to come up with some uh, better terms, with some familiar language that could be interpreted interpreted by laymen. So it is the duty of the researcher to translate this beta value into some familiar terms. For example, if we are talking about advertisement expenses and sales, then and we come up with a beta like zero point 0.6, that would mean nothing to the manager or to the sales manager of the organization. So we have to translate that beta into some dollar figures, and we have to tell the manager something like that. If you invest $100,000 on advertisement, that would boost your sales by $7 million, something like that. Now this is the thing that could make sense to this manager. So we have to interpret the results and communicate them to the recipient of the research. Thank you. So this was chapter 2. So in our next class, I will share more chapters. Thank you and Khuda Hafiz.